The opinions expressed in the following program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.
Brought to you by WKTV, I'm Wayne Thomas. Welcome to another Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast. First of all, let's meet my spooky friends, our regulars on the show, Brandon Jose and Kim Colleen.
Hey, I'm Brandon Jose of Kent County Paranormal. I'd like to thank everybody for tuning in, and Bill and Connie Jones of Grass last week for joining us as guests. And Kim, if you want to.
Yeah, I'm Kim Colleen, and a part of the team here with Grand Rapids Ghost Hunters Paranormal Podcast. I'd like to read a little bit of our special guest's book right here. Her name is Exie Susanne Smith, and the name of the book is called Welcome to My Paranormal Life. And I just want to read the back of it so you guys can get a little bit of an introduction to Exie. As the grogginess starts to fade, I notice how dark my room is. My bedroom door must be closed. I never shut my bedroom door. I do not like or feel safe in the dark. My stomach, now flopping with fear, I know that I am not alone. Scanning the room with my eyes open only to slits, I spot a shape across the room, tucked into the shadows. It is watching me. Whatever this is, it has realized I have spotted it, and it is now gliding towards me. I never went in search of the dead, but it seems the dead has come in search of me. I love goosebumps. You got goosebumps?
Yeah, we're going to talk about those.
Oh my gosh.
That's a sign, right?
I kid you not. Goosebumps.
Oh my gosh.
Okay, I can't wait.
Exie,
Hi.
you've led an incredible life.
I have, thank you. I didn't realize it for many, many years that I was different. I thought everybody else, when I was a kid, I thought everybody else felt this, heard this, saw this. Certainly they all knew what everybody else was thinking or feeling. And about puberty, I realized they didn't, because this happened. That my life changed physically, and my life changed emotionally and visually. My sight, everything changed. And I knew after that night, the next morning when I woke up, that I had a secret and I had to keep it, possibly for the rest of my life. So I started a journal, and when I woke up, I had these little old diaries and these books that my aunt kept trying to get me to write in, and she said, use these. Well, I had a stack of them, and I thought, this is why. Now I know why. Everything happens for a reason. So I started to write, and I kept them for 40 years.
People have to understand, it wasn't so open back
in the day.
when you were talking.
No, this was in the early mid 70s, which eons ago. Most people that I talked to at events, they weren't even born. So I had to explain a lot of the surroundings and the situations. The libraries had a couple of books on Halloween. That was it. There was nothing. The only thing happening at that time was that we'd come through the age of Aquarius, which was the hippies, the movements, the freedoms, the riots, a lot of what's happening now. And horoscope. You could go into all of that. You could go into astrology, which was great to me. So I dove into that for a little bit, as long as I was supposed to, and thoroughly enjoyed it, because I could actually say parts of what I was thinking to adults. You couldn't give anything away, because back then you definitely would have seen a psychiatrist. You might have been put on drugs. You could have been hospitalized, because you were weird. You were sick. You weren't this. You can't do this. You can't know what somebody else is thinking, hearing. So I kept my mouth shut at 12 years old. It was a lot. It was a massive burden.
Yeah, people just didn't understand it. You kind of had to keep it taboo. There was a lot of prejudice that went along with kind of what you do. Now, you don't like to put labels on. I read that in your Facebook.
Yeah.
But you can't hardly walk through this door without us labeling you somehow.
Well, and everybody loves labels. Even when I do a reading, the spirit guides come through, and they're pretty androgynous. They're male and female. Depends what you need them for. If you need a male's edge of thinking, if you need a female's edge of thinking, they will do that for you. But we like titles and labels, so I will let them know that your main spirit guide right now is a female. But in 5 minutes, she might be male because you might need that sort of
Kim's right now
thinking.
is?
Female. Yeah,
Oh.
but and yours is male, and you have two, so you have one of each, male and female, because you've got change coming. So it's
Can you tell
good.
the age of them?
They're ageless because they're angels. They're guides. They've not ever had a human form.
Okay.
So they don't have an age. We have hundreds of them though. So they come, they go. In 1 month I had 3 because I was moving forward and I was discovering and doing things at such a fast pace that they were coming in and helping me with what I needed, and then they'd move out and they'd let the other one move in. That would help me move forward with whatever it was I was working on at the time. That's their ideal. They want us to be happy. They want us to have the best life possible. So ask for it. Look for it. Seek it. This is what I'm looking for today. This is what I want by the end of the week. There's a difference between needs and wants. So, there's a learner there. You don't always get what you want, but you get what you need.
It's opening up a lot more, so we can look at that and not be afraid to be ridiculed. I know you put labels on yourself. Weird was one of them. You're like a weird kid. It's not the first time we've heard that in here.
No, I know. I can't imagine.
Right.
I mean, we've all been called weird, I'm sure. And I own it. I'm all right with that.
Right.
I mean, as a kid, I was the fat kid. And then this happened, and I was like, oh, great. Now I'm going to be the fat, weird kid. So that wasn't going to happen. I was like, nope, I'm going to stick with the fat kid until then I got to an age and I wasn't. I just kind of grew. But I was still not going to own the weird. I was like, it was not time.
Yeah, right. It is.
I always
Right.
knew the day would come when it was time.
What
You
about
know?
your parents? Did
Never.
you never said anything to your parents?
My parents, my brothers,
Nothing.
until 2012 when Welcome to My Paranormal Life that you read from came out.
Yep.
I got them together for a dinner and I told them. And my mother said to me, bless her heart, she said, well, bless your heart. She goes, I always knew you were different. And I looked at her and I was like, okay, Mom, we're moving on. So that was kind of tells you a little of the dynamic occasionally with my mom and I. But she meant it well and meant it because I was. I mean, I didn't even have the same blood type as anybody else in my family. I asked my doctor about that. They're all the whatever, A positive, whatever, and I'm AB negative. I'm the only one in the family. So I asked him and he goes, did your mom have a lot of miscarriages? What happened? And I'm like, there was one before me and there was one after me. And he goes, you were like the 12th child.
I had never heard that before.
Huh.
He goes, there's a whatever chromosome blood type
Changes
I
after
don't
12.
know. I don't know.
Okay.
That part is not my forte. And so it hits what he said to me. And we both did that dog head turn, like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
But it explained some things. It made some clarities. So my brother, my middle brother, because we had a spirit in the basement. We lived in this cool 2-story house that backed up into the woods. And we had a little spirit that would come in, this little boy. And he'd come in and play, and I knew he was a settler. He had rough-hewn clothes, like they'd been woven, and this little straw hat. He loved to be barefoot. He knew I did. And so he'd come in because the basement was open. It was a walkout. into the woods. It was really neat. And my brother says to me, he goes, he was real? I said, you saw him?
What?
He goes, I saw him once. And he said, I never wanted to see him again. And I said, well, there you go. You put it out there that you never wanted to see him again.
What age was this?
I was probably 7 or 8.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'd been playing with him since I was 6. He'd come into the basement and I'd run around and he'd run around. David's 5 years older than me, so, you know, he was 11, 12, somewhere in there. I never asked him how old he was, but I'm assuming it's about then, because he had a band and they played in the basement, garage band, you know.
Sure.
So it must have been then when he was setting up his drum kit. And,
You know, there's a lot of people out there that still don't want to come forward.
oh, no, I
You
know.
I had
I
my
know.
hair cut like before the pandemic, and gal says, I have talents or gifts, but I don't even want to tell my family about it. I don't want anybody to know. It seems like that's kind of what you were like at first until you embraced it.
You know, I turned 40. 40 was it was a revelation. It was, I didn't really care what people thought anymore. You know, I was like, I'm a big girl. Let's own this. Let's go. And I talked to my husband about it, and he said, you know what? Maybe you can help people. I thought, well, I like that. I like that a lot. So I wrote this and put it out there. I heard from 8-year-olds, 9-year-olds, 12-year-olds,
After writing your first book?
the parents. Okay, so explain this to me, the moms. You know, they'd come up to my table and they'd bring their daughter to an event, a convention or whatever. And I had people that could barely afford to get in the door, and I would give them my book. Like, take this, read this. You know, how do I know my child is telling the truth? And I'm like, well, you raised your child. You raised them to be truthful, I am assuming. This is a heart of gold in this little one. You know, I mean, you could feel the fear and the truthfulness coming off this child. So I give them the book, and nothing. Just take it, read it, trust your child, believe your child. And I'd get emails and I'd get letters. Thank you so much. And it would change everything in the family dynamic, the home, the relationship between mother, daughter, mother, son. It was never the dads. I mean,
Right.
it's rarely
Right.
a dad.
Ghost hunting, the same thing. They're oblivious.
Rarely a dad.
Yep.
So it's like, it is what it is. I'm just glad the moms are there and they will help. So yeah, so that was kind of like the kicker for me when he said that. I thought, oh. And he said, plus I'm tired of moving these things. After you write this book, can we get rid of
Yeah.
Because I had boxes of journals. I mean, from 12 to 40, I'm writing
Wow.
down every experience. Because after this thing came to my room, which for me meant a lot because it was trying to stop me from becoming who I am, which is helpful, a guider, someone that likes to shed life and love and light, to help. Did not want me doing that. I turned down his offer of everything in life I could ever want, but I'd have to repay him. I was like, wait a minute. My dad said to me once, there's no such thing as a free lunch.
Right.
So you're going to want a lot for that because there's nothing that's free. And I said the word God, and and I liked that. I was like, oh, I shook him up. I like that. So I said it again, and he disappeared. So I took all of that, put it into these books, and then have put it into life to offer it up to people. Believe in who you want. That makes no difference to me. I believe in a God that's probably not the same as someone else's. I grew up Lutheran and Jewish, so it's not really going to be the same. I had influences from both. Girlfriends that were Roman Catholic, and we would sit and talk, and not that their parents ever knew, because that wasn't happening in that household ever. And it's a lot of my girlfriends the same today, these staunch Italian girlfriends of mine, but they're into it, and they ghost hunt with me, and they know it's there. 2 of them are mediums.
Well,
So,
we send
you
the
know.
same message out that pay attention to your children because they're the ones, adolescents see more ghosts than regular people, clergymen and adolescents. So if they're telling you they have an imaginary friend, you need to get a professional in there. That's my recommendation.
Get somebody to talk to, because it doesn't have to be bad. You know, I start a lot of people off. I tell them that it may come on in shadow, and it may be a black shadow, but it doesn't mean it's bad.
Right.
It just may be the way you perceive them, or it may be the only way they can appear, because
Right.
they don't have enough energy to do a full-on apparition for
You've
you.
seen different forms. I want to cover those so people that out there, if they're experiencing some of this thing, they might recognize that you've seen a white mist like a cloud.
Which was so cool. We tried to replicate it too, and we couldn't. So, you know, because you got to debunk. You can't just go, oh, it's a ghost. Well, no, it could be a reflection. I wear glasses. It could be somebody 30 feet behind me, and it's, you know, it's spoofing me. Oh yeah, mists, full-on apparitions. But I've seen shadow people in every shade and mixed shades. Blacks, grays, whites, creams. I still am looking for a teal one. We could work on that. I'd appreciate that. That'd be pretty sweet. You know, put it out there. You get what you ask for. So hopefully, but it may be how they can do it. My dad, the first time he came to me, right after he passed, he showed up on the couch where he always sat in my house, and it was his outline, and it was weak. But I knew it was him, and because it was his shape. And I said, you get strong, and then you come back to me. So meanwhile, now he's trying to come back to me for about 6 months. He's blowing light bulbs out in my house.
Oh no.
And I was going through baskets of light. I was like, all right, you're costing me too much money here. Let's figure out another way. So I asked him to come to me in dreams. Because I was going, this was incandescent light bulbs, so thank God you could get them places for 69 cents at the time, you know. But he was, and I didn't know if it was him or me too, because I'm an energy reader and an energy eater. I can blow light bulbs up if I'm mad or overjoyed. So I wasn't sure, but yeah. So look for the shape. Look too to see if there's a shape.
You've seen the classic cloaked dark with a cloak even.
Oh yeah, cloaks with hats, with canes. With the, not just the cowled hat, but like the old England style of the cape on the guys with the canes, and that was kind of real creepy because he had that top hat on, and he was ushering me into a room.
Period clothing.
Yeah.
That can be key.
Oh yeah, and he was ushering me into a room, and I was like, do I really want to go into this room? That was was that friendly, or was it adversarially inviting me into a situation? So it was like, because I think as a woman, and as a woman you're cautious, when you walk in the dark, because there's more things that I have to worry about than a male. I can be overpowered more easily. There's, and because normally I just walk around the house in the dark in my own home. I don't turn lights on at night or anything because I know what's in my house.
They all haven't been Casper the Friendly Ghost, though.
No.
In your house, you're saying?
Yeah, I've had people send me things too.
What do you mean people send you things? Like negative energies?
Yeah. When I came
like
on
voodoo?
this, there's been
like
that.
I'm going to put a voodoo curse on you?
There's
or what?
been that. There's been Wiccan. There's been in a bad way, because you can take that. So witchcraft, whatever, it's just jealousy.
Wow.
I mean, I'm me. I'm not out for anybody's position or job, or I don't care. Go do your thing. Be who you are. I wish you well. If I can help you, let me know. I will help you. Go do it.
In your book, you say they have no boundaries. You even had one in the shower once.
I did.
What?
I did.
Yeah.
So
That's
learned,
a friendly ghost.
A little bit too friendly for my liking.
He had a big old grin on his face too. Yeah, that was just kind of like, and I just started to talk like, I can't repeat it here. And so my husband, I hear this little knock, 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 and he sticks his head and he goes, everything okay in here? Because
Like,
I'm
who
just
are you talking?
swearing in the shower,
To get him to go away?
You burp, 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 because it was just this dude. It was like this big old balloon head, right in through behind the shower curtain. He's grinning at me.
So you were swearing at him to get
yeah,
out.
Get the out of my shower. Get, you know. So my husband, yeah, I'm good. Just had a visitor in the shower. He's like, okay. The door clicks shut. He leaves. But I had a case the other night, and it was a young man. I'd read for his mom, and I'd messed up. I felt so bad. I missed my time to call her. I do phone readings. And I've only missed like 2 or 3 people, but we're doing a little construction at home, so things are a little hairy. So I got a hold of her immediately. So can you read now? I'm ready. If you are now, I apologize so much. And she wanted to talk to her son. He was in his early 20s and he committed suicide. And I brought this young man in who was tremendous, and he was just wrong for the time. He was way too smart, and everything he tried to do with all of his heart and all of his great intention failed time after time after time. And
That was her son that you're
was
talking about.
her son. And so I'm in the shower, it's the next morning, and he pops in. And I'm like, so what can you see? And he goes, only what you're letting anybody see. And I said, so what do you see? And he goes, from your neck up. He goes, it's all steam. He goes, I can't see anything from underneath that. And I said, from that first dude that popped in, I set this up. And I said, anytime in the shower, for anything spiritually, it's all steam from the neck down. That's all anyone would be able to see. Because you're never alone. I mean, never alone. You've always got all your guides, all your spirits. There's entities, there's moms, there's dads, they're everywhere. So I set that up, and he started laughing. He goes, you must have needed to do that. And I just laughed, and I'm like, I'm old. You do not want to see this. I said, it's all good. Go. You know.
You don't want to see
Yeah. So we talked the whole, talked while I showered and stuff, and because he just needed to let me know why. He needed to tell me his part
So he
of it.
didn't necessarily come through during the phone call with your client, who was his mom.
Oh, he did big time.
Oh, he did?
He did.
Okay.
It was wonderful. We both cried, and
But then he came back.
he did because he wanted to talk some more.
Wow.
Because he finally found someone that he could talk to, and on this plane.
So did you call the mom back and say, hey, your son visited me again?
No.
Oh,
No,
you just-
because it was between he and I.
Oh, I see.
And so then I gave him advice on how to approach her
Okay.
and how to go to her, which is easier, which is in dreams.
Okay.
It's less energy for them. It's less taxing. It's easier on their light bulbs. It's easier on the house.
Sure.
So I had him go that way, and I said, the more, because his goal is to be a full-bodied apparition for her. And he goes, I would love a hug, and I said, well, then make it happen.
Mm-hmm.
Make it happen. I did that with my parents. I went to them. It was the most cool thing I've ever done. I was asleep, and all of a sudden there's this like gelatin wall in front of me, and it's kind of shimmering, and I parted it. It parted perfectly like curtains, and I stepped through it, and there were my parents, and they were in a bar, which after skiing, they loved to ski. They were listening to some great music and having a cocktail. And my dad looked at my mom and he goes, I told you she could do it. And I walked right into my mom's arms, and I could feel her face, and I could smell her, and I got a hug from my mom for the first time in 2 years.
Oh.
So that's
Chicken
what
skin.
So that's what I told him. I said, these are the realms of possibilities. I said, so teach mom that it's possible to come to you. They don't all have to come to us. We can go to them.
Mm-hmm.
Astral travel. We do it. We don't even know we've done it. I mean, you wake up and you had a dream, and I had this dream, and I was over this expanse of lawn, and I was doing all this stuff, and I was flying. And you remember it. You were there. You were there. That to me is astral travel, because it strikes a chord in your soul, and you feel it. And you weren't walking. So now, put it out there that I want to try this. I want to do this. I went to my grandma that way. It was the coolest thing. And I know I was there.
Traveling through dimensions.
Yeah. my soul left my body, and I was there. I went through I don't know how many veils and levels, but I have no
That
doubt.
sounds like fun.
Yeah, no kidding.
Really.
Can it take me to
Really?
Disney?
If that's what you
Yeah,
want to
that's
use it for,
that's like this world. Yeah, I'm
you might.
yeah, I'm talking.
You might.
I think that's probably easier than traveling through
Right.
to other dimensions.
Right.
You cover residual hauntings, and I think that's important because not all things have a spirit connected to them.
Yeah, it's a really controversial thing. I was so shocked how controversial residual is, because some people flat out do not believe this can exist, and I'm like, but energy's forever. You can't clean it away. It doesn't go away. It's forever. Your energy, that's what you were made up of. Everything you do takes energy, expounds, expels, whatever you want to call it, energy. So when I do this, it's like I'm throwing energy, and I'm using energy. So in my house, in the back of my house, because I live in an old cottage, it's 4 different homes that have been added onto over since the 20s or 30s. And there's a guy. He walks through the wall, through a window, into my furnace room door. I'm just like, okay. And you see him all times today. He walked through my son once. Watches, my son goes, oh, I'm so cold. He says, what the heck just happened to me? And I was like, you just had a ghost walk through you. I said, well, is he really a ghost? I said, I guess I would classify him a ghost. So that sparked my investigations on things and how I started to look into things. And but he's back there every day. That used to be the porch, and the door he's walking through in my furnace room used to be the original front door of the original part of the cottage.
So was he a prior owner?
I
do you
think so.
Or
Male.
somebody who lived there at one time or another?
It feels like one of the owner's sons
Oh,
is, I just get son
yeah.
and, SON for him, who I think, I don't know if he checked on the place, but we find it's an old naughty pine room, the old, and it still smells so good. And you can see where the stovepipe went up through, which is obviously sealed, but he just kind of comes and goes and comes and goes, and because if he was in his 40s or 50s in the 30s, probably not around anymore.
Probably.
But
These
just-
historical hauntings will play on a loop.
it's like an old movie.
We're watching a
It
movie.
just
Yeah.
plays over and over and
They
over.
don't know you're there.
And the kids are going to be like, what the heck's that? There used to be this reel-to-reel film, and that's exactly what I feel like they are. Or a VCR tape, or, how
Stuff happens
just-
at Gettysburg,
Oh, incredibly.
right? It can be routine, daily stuff that leaves an imprint
Yes.
that you can still see. Certain people, right person, right place, right time
Oh,
is
yeah.
usually the way I put it.
Yeah, because we were told when we went, you got to be in this park at midnight, and you'll see soldiers in the field.
Right? Or hear bombs, guns going off,
We heard a cannon.
right?
And nobody does cannon fire there anymore. I mean, it's not a fake. It's, there was 7 or 8 of us. 3 of us were together. The other people, we had no idea who they were. And we were above one of the battlefields, and you hear, boom.
like,
Everybody
where did
looks
that
at each
come
other,
from?
It's like, ah! Everybody's skin flared, you're like the cat. And you just knew. This was not, it didn't sound current. It didn't come from like today, from like a mile away.
And did everybody in
know.
the party hear that at the
Oh,
same
yeah.
time? Not just you, because you're a medium.
Yep.
Everyone heard it.
The 2
So-
people I
Nice.
was
Isn't that
with-
interesting?
Yeah.
Oh yeah, and then the other 4 or 5 people down the parking lot.
What was
Did you
that?
guys hear that?
Yeah, that's something.
We did. So yeah.
So how long ago were you at Gettysburg?
About 2 years, maybe 3.
Oh, that's pretty recent. Yeah.
So we did that. We rented the Jenny Wade house. from like 2 in the morning until 5 or something. Nothing. Just the three of us rented it. And this poor young man, so I hope you're watching. We're on the second story and he's down there and I just want to look out the window to see what was going on out there. It's like 3 in the morning. And I part the curtains and I look and he looks up.
Uh-oh. Scared the bejeemies out of him.
So then he looks down at his buddy to say something, and I put the curtains back, and I step back, and I was like, "Oh, I'm going to hell for this."
You scared him to death.
I just couldn't help it. And you can hear him. No, that window right there. And I was
no! Did you run downstairs
I
and
know.
tell him the truth?
No.
Oh, you didn't.
Nope.
You
No.
let him.
Let him think it, next
I
to hear it
just-
on my ghost story.
I know, right?
Yeah, something on,
Yeah.
Travel Channel. This kid's gonna be on there making a bitch. He's got his own show now.
Right.
But, oh my gosh.
I
but
can't imagine what your husband goes through, because I know there was
know.
one point in your book where it was like 3 o'clock kind of a disturbance,
Oh, my
and your husband said something like another ghost, and you said no, it was a spirit. So there's the difference between ghosts and spirit, the way you
There is.
define them.
There is. A ghost is someone who has passed, something, and has chosen not to go home to whatever home is to them, to heaven for me.
Practicing free will, the way I see it.
They choose to stay. They're either afraid to go, they're not done in their eyes, there's nothing else for them, so they stay. A spirit is someone or something that has passed, and they go to their Lord, they go to their heaven, they go to their wherever, their Mecca, and then they come back. That's free will too. They can come and go.
Okay.
My dad passed, immediately came back. He was at the funeral. He told me, "You did a good job. This was fun."
Oh my goodness.
Oh, it was great. It was so cute. But he did that. So that's the difference to me. And I sat with Chip Coffey, who
Yeah.
really a famous guy.
Yeah.
And,
He's on a lot of shows.
and I thoroughly enjoyed him, so I followed him, and I used to be like, I want to do that. I want to do what he know.
Yeah.
And so he talked about those differences, and I've kind of owned them, but I do give him credit for
Yeah.
those. That was Chip.
He does a lot with like Amy Bruni
Yep.
and
Adam.
Adam.
Adam Barry.
Adam
and-
Barry.
yeah.
So
They
I love
do.
how he can walk into the room and be like, "Oh no, he's very like theatrical.
He is very dramatic.
He
and
is, but he gets his point across, right?
He does. He's a hoot.
He is a hoot.
He's very talented, a lot of abilities, and he's been at it for a while. So he's honed them and owns them, which is great.
Have you met him in person?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh, I bet that was fun.
Several times I went to one of his readings. He invited me in because I wanted to see how he worked. Mediums like to see how the other mediums work
Sure.
and how you pull things in and do things. So I got to go in and do that. And so he was asking, anybody have questions? I raised my hand, and he
Yeah.
goes, no.
Oh, he said no to you?
He did. He goes, you can figure your own crap out. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
He's not afraid with the swear words. He's not shy.
Yeah.
So that. But so my husband, we were in bed one night, and it was like 3 in the morning, which is not an uncommon time for spirit. And it's the foot of our bed. Our bedroom is our sanctuary. I seal that room. I bubble the whole house, but obviously not good enough. And this thing gets in. It's standing at the foot of the bed, and I wake up because I know I'm being watched. And I'm like, get the H out of my bedroom. This is my sanctuary. You're not allowed in here. You need to go. My husband rolls over and he goes, please tell me you're not talking to me.
Poor guy.
And I kind of pat him on the hip, and I was like, no, it's okay, baby. Go back to sleep. I just had a
We
little
have
work.
another visitor.
I just had a little work to do here. And so the thing left, but it was my great uncle. So that's a long story. That's
Brandon, does that fall in line with your definition? Because we've defined spirit and ghost and
Yeah, I mean, there's kind of like a lot of it. Like, I kind of agree with her definitions on there. Mine's, but I think kind of more firm as kind of like a spirit and soul kind of a thing, but I think it kind of in a different.
Yeah.
But everybody's kind of got their own terms and definitions for like how they define it.
But I agree with soul
Yeah.
too with that.
Yeah.
I would.
Because that's the way I always kind of had it. Was like, you know, kind of you have like the soul, which, and kind of like and you have more kind of like an energy left behind, like the residual. Like I think you're more than just, like when you pass on, I think you're more than just one place. Like your soul can be in one place, and you still have your energy, like as a residual energy in places and stuff like that as well.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
My grandfather, who coached me from 5 years old, who was a ghost hunter, he dug up bones. He was the real thing before they had all the equipment. He called them selves.
Oh.
So, and he didn't refer to them as ghosts or spirits. They were selves. And I think it's the fundamental essence of what we were as a living person. It's that personality is attached. It goes with us.
Selves. That's kind of creepy. Be a good title for a movie.
Selves.
Like a horror movie.
The cells.
Selves.
You know,
Yeah.
speaking of movies, when I was reading your book, we're going to put some labels on before you leave because you're an author for one thing.
Yep.
Of these 3 books. Kim, you can see all those titles? Can you read them off?
Yeah, if we start over here, it's called The Essence of Death.
Just bought that one.
Yep, and then we've got When the Dead Come Calling. And then the one I read from is called Welcome to My Paranormal Life.
Yeah, I've thoroughly diagnosed this one. When you were in here and you were out at the dinner table at 12 years old, and you said like you could tell because the chairs would creak that somebody was there.
Oh, no.
You know, I thought of a movie, and I thought of
Which one?
oh,
Not Ghostbusters.
no, not
but-
Ghostbusters. With the little girl, Beetlejuice. So I envisioned you as Winona Ryder and the daughter Lydia.
I just
Lydia.
watched that the other
I did
day. I love it. I love
good.
it.
That's what I pictured you at that age as a little Lydia.
Oh.
And
Yeah.
all these things going around your house, and you're just trying to not ignore it or
I
not
had
tell
about-
anybody.
I had about that much angst. I grew my hair long and I combed it in front of my face. I gained like 40 pounds. I knew everybody by their shoes because I never looked up.
Oh,
Did you wear all black?
No,
Oh.
but it was dark. It was navy because my mother wasn't going there. So she goes, "You look good in navy." I'm like, "Perfect." You know, I'll take it. So, but I knew everybody by their shoes. It was because it was like I didn't want to look at them. I didn't know what I'd see. I was seeing spirit, but I never saw them on the ground. They didn't have anything from like the knees down. So for me, that was now.
right. So
It's
ghost hunters,
energy,
we set our
you know?
equipment up off the floor for that reason.
Exactly.
Yep.
You know, for me, it's vibrational. It's levels. I used to think there was 6 levels, and there was 8, 9, and now I think there's 12 to 16.
After
levels.
death?
Yeah.
Well, that's what I asked you when
know.
you were on our radio show, Cryptic Frequencies, and I asked you about any insights or secrets, and you said you could whisper it to me. And you said you thought there was at least 12 levels
Yeah.
once we pass.
Yes.
And I researched that because I wanted to know if anybody else was telling me that there were 12 levels, if they agreed with you at all.
Did
And-
they call them like planes?
Well,
Are
I'll
they
tell you
called
what I
planes?
found out. I found out that there's 12 chakras. Instead of
Oh, so
7,
there
there's
you go.
12. Yeah, there's the
Yeah.
Earth star, which is lower than the root and attached even farther down to the ground. And then you've got 11, 12, and 13, the galactic, the divine gateway, and the soul star, which I hadn't had any reference to that until you told me there were 12 levels. I wanted to know if anyone else was talking about 12 levels. So it kind of confirmed what you were saying. There are 12 levels, and some of them are above the crown chakra.
Yep. And some are below. So as above is below. You know, it goes. It all goes, and so it goes, and so it goes. You know, so it all winds. Hearts and stars have always been symbols for me. Star was like the first symbol I could ever draw, and hearts. So that, to me, the star symbol there and the star symbol here means so much, because the earth Mother Earth and just the ground and what's in it means tremendous things to me because I can feel them, and the same with above. So it's just this combination, it just wraps it all together. It's the synchronicities.
But you're a natural born medium, which is a little bit different than someone who has some kind of experience in their life, near-death experience, and then they become sensitive. Sensitive is one of the labels I wanted to talk about because you put that on yourself.
I do. And it's my least favorite because you don't know when you get, you've let your guards down, so you get sideswiped by somebody or a funeral driving by you on the street.
Oh, no.
All of a sudden I'm in tears and I'm driving home from Kroger,
no.
and
Yeah.
it's like, it wasn't that bad. Oh, funeral. Please take this from me. Please take this from me. I don't own it. I don't need it. I don't want it. Thank you. And
Very empathic then?
it's gone. Yeah. And it's something I block. I do conventions and I put up steel walls. I hate being in the middle of a room. I love it when they give me a table with my back to the wall. It's like, thank you, because it doesn't cost as much of my energy to keep these walls up. That's so much. But then I have to keep the front open because I do readings.
Sure.
So it's kind of like a sliding glass door. I let people come in, they come back and sit down, and I close the door. So it's really a very bipolar existence. It's tripolar, it's whatever. There's so much there, and you have to balance them all
Yeah.
for your sanity and to keep your level of balance. When I get sick, I get really sick because, excuse me, I have to knock on wood.
Right. We don't want anybody sick nowadays.
So, like if I get a cold, I get a cold. If I get a fever, I'm really sick. Normally I go subnormal. Like if I'm overly tired or it's like, and I'll take my temperature and I'm like 96, 90, in there. It just goes subnormal. And I'm like, all right, I got to rest because that means I'm not okay. So, and I'm a hypochondriac too, so I have to keep myself, my husband will tell me that. You're making this up. Am I? You are. Okay. So I can talk myself out of it. Yeah.
Wish
I
it
know.
was that easy.
I wish.
Right.
Well, it was easier when I was a blonde too. It was like I'd go, okay. So, no blonde jokes. Sorry.
You put other labels on yourself in the book that I read, Your Paranormal Life. You said that you're clairaudient. And all these clair words, the clair means clear. It's a French word. Clairvoyance is like clair seeing.
Yep.
So you said you're clairaudient. You can hear things with two different ways, you said, inner ear and outer ear.
Yes. Good story for my husband because people ask me, does he ever hear or see? And I used to have to just say no. We were in the living room. He was in the kitchen, open concept. So I'm on the couch and I'm, I don't know, reading or something. And he's in the kitchen making something to eat. And we hear, oh! And I look in the middle of the living room. The dog's head pops up, her ears raised. And it's in the middle of the living room, in the middle of the air. This ooh noise. And from the kitchen, he goes, did you say something to me? I came off the couch doing a dance. I was like,
Because he heard it.
he heard it. He heard his first spirit.
Verification.
He
You
went,
talk about it a lot in your
yeah.
book.
He goes, no.
He didn't believe that he heard something.
He
Or he
did.
didn't want to believe
He
that he
didn't
heard
want
something.
it to happen. And I was like, mm-hmm.
Well, I was gonna say, like, a lot of guys, like, on like cases that we've done, like, a lot of them, like, because a lot of times it'll be like the wife will call us in and like the husband will be like, oh, I don't believe in any of that stuff. But the more you kind of press them, then they'll be like, well, I had like these times I had, but I don't believe in that.
Yeah.
Like,
People that come to my tables at conventions, it's the guys. And it's a generational thing too, certain level of guy, certain age. And we'll talking to them, well, there was this one time.
Yeah.
I want it on the back of a T-shirt. There was this one time, not a band camp. That's a whole different movie. But so they'll say that, and it's like, and I just kind of go, really? So what? And they tell you this whole fabulous event,
Yeah.
and it just makes my day.
Yeah.
And oh well, maybe I do believe it. And
Yeah.
I'm like,
You use different words in the book: confirmation, validation, verification, normal. You talked about being institutionalized. You don't want people to think that you're crazy, so you really were looking for that. And unfortunately, us males aren't necessarily in tune with that. Most of us, anyway.
no, and you know what? And at that age, when I was younger, everybody's trying to figure out how to make friends and how to be friends. And 90% of my life, I've never had friends. It's just not my lifetime's
You
thing.
need spookier friends.
Well, I'm friendly with probably 1,000
We'll
people.
be our friend.
Yeah,
So come on over.
you have a friend in me.
Yes.
Aw,
right?
and now that
Right.
song's in my head.
I know, right? I did that purposely.
James Taylor.
You
No,
have
Toy
a friend
Story.
in me. Yeah.
Oh, is it?
So yeah, but who sings that? Taylor? Does it James Taylor?
Oh, I don't
But
know.
so and it's at this age it's okay. I'm okay with it. Age is a gift. I didn't used to look at it that way, but it really has become one where you just are like, well, whatever. I don't. It's
Yeah,
okay.
I got that way when I turned 50, I think.
Yep.
You know, it's like, I don't care what anybody thinks anymore. I'm going to do what makes me happy.
Yeah.
You know?
Good way to live.
Yeah.
Exactly, and it's very freeing.
It is.
It's very affirming, and it allows more steps. So if you let that stuff go, we weren't born with a rearview mirror. We weren't born with anchors. Let them go, both of them, because it doesn't help a thing. So just you'll figure it out. And I thought, you know what? If I adjust myself to the thinking of, it's okay if I don't really have close friends. I have people I can talk to, which is very, very nice. But then all of a sudden people step forward. And it's like, oh, you have to let go. You have to close that door so another door will open. It happened recently. I have a girl, now she's moving to Florida. I was like, okay, so, well, it's all right. I'll see you in Florida.
Yep. Yep.
It's the way it works.
For our literary reference, I chose the Allman Brothers' Soul Shine because I was at home and I heard that song come on, and I already did the radio show with you, and I thought, that's Exie. She's shining like a beacon in the night, like it says in your book. You've had so many ghosts attracted to you.
Oh my gosh.
You think your house has, or your location has anything to do with it?
It did. The guy we bought the house from passed. He was very sick when we bought it, and he moved to Arizona. And then my son, who was 2 and 3, saw him first. And he came out, and he was eating breakfast one morning, and he was so smart. He was talking in full sentences at 2 years old. The pediatrician says to me, he goes, he's not supposed to be doing that. And I was like, well, tell him. Don't tell me, whatever. So he says, Mama, I'm going to tell you something. And I said, what? He goes, there's a man in my room.
Oh.
So, I'm like, okay, Mom, don't make a face and don't, run to his room because there's nothing there. Dang, apples from the tree. He's seeing
Yep.
spirits.
You passed it on.
I did. He's very much shut it out to a degree. He's got a good gut. He's got good people's instincts. So it was the guy we bought the house from. He came back.
Oh.
And then he wanted to stay, and I was okay with that. Learned a lesson on that. So he would just sit in the rafters in the attic over the living room, and he'd just kind of hang out. 'Cause that's
no.
where we were. So then I bring a picture home from my parents' house, and it's my great uncle and my grandmother. My grandmother, I look most like her. I'm built like her. And so she was my savior when I was 12 because she knew something was going on and knew things were changing in my life when nobody else even noticed. So I'd go to talk to her. I didn't tell her what was happening, but she knew. And she would listen to things. And so I wanted the picture for her. And my son comes home from school and he walks in the house and he looks at this because I've got it hung in the entry, and he's like, oh, heck no. He goes, you can't leave this picture here. So I go bouncing back through the house because I love family, I love history. And I said, well, let me explain. This is family. And he's looking at me like I've just grown a third eye. That I can't see what's happening here. And he can. So he's an hour later, he's like, I have to go. He goes to pick up his girlfriend, brings her back. She walks in the house, and I hear them back there, and I go back, bouncing back there. I'm going to introduce more family. And she's got this look on her face, and I'm looking at both of them like they're nuts. So slowly, certain little things start to happen. There's bumps, there's thumps, things are moved, and I'm like, what did I do? What's going on here? So I go back to the entryway, and I'm staring at this picture. My grandmother is very 2D in this picture. Nothing. He's 3D. He is coming off this picture, and he's attached. So I introduced myself to my great uncle because I knew this was him, and he was here, and he was in spirit. He died of brain cancer way back because he fought in World War I. He'd been in the trenches, and he'd been mustard gassed.
My grandpa, too, lost a lung to mustard gas.
A lot of those guys got cancer, skin cancers. Yeah. He got brain cancer. He'd become a religion where you don't seek medical help. God will heal you. So when my dad saw him for the last time, he was draped because half of his head was eaten away with cancer.
Oh, man.
So he died insane. Well, guess what? He came back insane.
Oh.
And so now I'm dealing with an insane spirit who thinks I am my Aunt Sue, because I look like her. And so he's calling me Susan. I've never been Susan. I'm either Exie or Susanne. And there was my clue. So I can't have him in the house because he's making me motion sick. He's draining. He's just clawing. He's cloying. He's everywhere. He's on me all the time. So I seal him in the garage. So now I've got my dead uncle in the garage. And I know, it's so great. So I moved the picture too because he keeps trying to come back to the picture. So I talked to some friends and I asked for advice. Now I've got the picture in 2 double black bags, garbage bags, salted, holy water, a St. Michael medallion taped over his face, sealed and stuffed in the garage. And he's still coming into the house.
Why don't you just get rid of the picture?
Oh,
But you just can't.
Oh, I can't because it's the only one like it, and it's from 1918,
okay,
somewhere
so
in there.
So it has a sentimental value to you.
So much, and it's just beautiful. It's oval, and it's...
So you're just trying to get rid of this dude.
I just want him gone.
You want to keep the picture, but you want him gone.
Exactly. So a year passes. I'm salt watering the back wall of the house. I've got crystals back there that are, they're good until then they have to be replenished, and I forget, and then here he comes back through the house. So I'm out and I'm cleaning one day in the garage, and there's a tennis ball and a string for when I back in.
Yeah.
This thing comes right at my head.
The tennis ball?
Goes by it came from the back. I turned around, there he is, standing there.
He whipped the tennis ball at you.
He did. So it would take me about a year to get him to the point where I could have some lucidity, a moment of clarity with him. And he'd look at me and he'd call me Exie, and I'd be like, great, you need to go home. And it was that fast, then it was over, and we'd backtrack, and we'd go all the way back to the beginning. I was like, I can't do this. So I'm talking to my dad, who's passed then, and his mom and his sister. So I can bring down white light, which is God's light, and you can step into it and you go home. You leave this plane and you go to where, like I've said, wherever home is to you. Mm-hmm. And so I get him in it, and I've got his mom up there, his relatives, his aunt, and my dad, and they're talking to him and they're trying to get him to go. He gets up about halfway through the garage. All I can see is legs. The other half of him sticking out through the top of the garage. And it's just this, I'm laughing so hard, and I have to keep my concentration. So I'm thinking, what did he love? He loved planes, and he loved, because he chased Pancho Villa around in the border. He saw the first aeroplanes ever go into war. They were in Alpena, Michigan. It's where they trained. So he had all these things. So I was trying to, with imagery work, put these things up there for him so that he'd see them. And finally I put like goats and dogs, and he was like, ooh, animals. And he went. I was like, okay. So I went in the house and had a scotch. I was so exhausted. I just sat on the couch and just sipped a little on the
So
rock.
that was it. He was gone.
He was gone.
He never came back.
He comes back once in a while. There was something in my house that was not good, and it charged me down the hall. He dropped in, he grabbed this thing, and he took off with it up through the house. So he is now a protector of me because I treated him with heart and with,
Yeah.
It's like a ghost hunter trying to figure out some unfinished business.
It's hard.
We got a couple things we have to get through here because we're just about running out of time.
Oh, gosh.
Upcoming and ongoing events. Brandon, anything coming up? You got the Spirit's Doorway coming back, your podcast.
Yeah, we are looking at bringing it back. I'm not sure exactly. I might change the format of it a little bit. I'm looking at maybe just doing it as like more like a radio, like kind of like call-in. Probably still do some stuff in the studio, but I want to be able to do some stuff outside of the studio as well. So I'm trying to figure that out before I kind of come. But we'll look to get back in the studio as well, but kind of have that in a different, do it in some different formats and stuff.
And then Kent County Paranormal, you guys.
And then we do have an event. I think I'm not sure if it's sold out. You'd have to check with Rick Wade, but we're going to be helping him out with an event that I believe at the Robinson Manor.
Oh, nice.
This upcoming month.
Oh,
so,
lucky.
Yeah.
Very
Yeah,
cool.
I tried to get in there out in
Yeah.
Allegan.
Yeah.
I did hear that is sold out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then we had you on the Cryptic Frequencies, the radio
Yeah.
show too, and we did you. That was fun. With,
Yeah. Once I got earpieces, that worked.
with,
Yeah.
Mary, with our
Tried tuning in like, Brandon, can you hear us? Where are you?
yeah, with our mutual friend.
Yeah.
Exie had problems too.
Yeah.
With our mutual
Yeah.
friend Mary
Yeah.
Bassett. So we had fun doing that, all of us. So you do have friends. And then upcoming also, we've been promoting. There's a Mid-Michigan Paranormal Convention. Is
No.
it's still
No,
It's
now
done.
it's done.
Oh boy.
It's rescheduled for next year.
wow, and they were just they're adding more and more people on, so we can stop promoting that, I guess.
Yeah, sadly.
Now Mary
Problem
and
with COVID is it's like it's moved everything.
Right.
Right.
It's supposed to be going up to Paracon this week, and I'm so bummed about that.
I know it.
Yeah.
That is,
it tabled us for
Yeah.
6 shows.
Yeah.
There's the reopening of the reading room in Portland, and I think Sarah and Mary Bassett are going to be out there. And then we do shout outs too, so if there's anybody out there that you want to say hi to, give a shout out.
oh my gosh, just everybody. I miss you. I want to see you. We have an event in October in Dearborn
There you go.
Okay.
with Brian Danhausen and Adam. And Adam, it's Adam W. out of Toledo. I'm not going to murder your name. Weird Weekends is putting it on, and it's at the Dearborn Museum, which is not the Henry Ford. But we have 3 or 4 buildings, so we'll have small little groups in each building. We're doing everything COVID safe, and then we're going to do galleries, and we're doing readings. So it should be great.
Do you have the dates
I'm
on that,
excited.
or
It is October. My bad, I cannot remember.
Okay.
It's they can look on my page, Facebook, or get a hold of me at exiparanormal.com.
okay?
And I will.
Exie. I thought for sure that was a name that you made up.
I did not. It is family. It's out of the South.
It's a great name.
Yeah,
it's
I
very
like it.
unique.
I love it.
And then
Thank
your dad called you Susie, and your friend called you Sue. So that made me think she made this up. This is her name that she uses for her
I
business.
didn't use it as a kid because even in the 60s it was weird, which if you were alive in the 60s and you saw people, you would think that wasn't the case. They were magnificently hippie. And so it would have fit right in. But I don't like it. It was
Yeah,
weird.
I love it. I think
I
it's
love it
great.
too.
I grew into it. And I have an Aunt Exie. That was my mom's sister. So it's a real thing.
So, well, shout out to Grass. They were our last ones on the show. Bill and Connie Jones, and also to Mike and Kathy. We were on their show, and sympathies because Mike's, I believe, brother.
Dad.
His father
His dad.
passed away in a car accident.
Right. So our sympathies to them.
Oh, I'm
And then
sorry.
our final thought. I want to do your thing with the cards here. Everybody has some cards. You guys, your cards are right there. This is something that Exie did while she was in college. Now I don't know if Nate went out and got some beer or not, so we can do some beers. But now, how does it work? Go to the left?
Well, any way you want to do it. Yeah, the way you deal. So you'd go that way, right? You deal this way.
So I would guess what she's going to have.
Yep. So
Yours are
you-
right here.
You pick your card
What do I have
up.
to do?
Red,
Pick
I
these
have
up?
to guess.
You guess whether it's going to be red or black. The
Yep.
card that he's going to hold.
Oh,
up.
that she guesses mine.
Yeah, you can do
Okay.
it that way.
All right. Guess red or black.
Black.
No, so that's down.
And then you guess.
Red.
Yep.
Brandon,
then
your
those are
cards are there,
yours.
Brandon.
Okay.
Oh, Brandon. See, we're going to find
Yeah.
out. We got spooky people here, Exie. I want to find out how spooky they are.
God, okay, open up in a heartbeat. I'm going to say black.
Nope.
Nope.
Red. I got one. Go again.
Red.
Oh, you're not doing too hot.
Not.
You and me both, sister.
I'll go red.
Yes. 2 for 2 on Brandon.
Yeah.
I got to say black again.
Nope.
Oh.
I'm not a medium.
Red.
I mean, yep.
I know.
All right, one more, and that's
Okay,
it. The
okay.
show's
Okay.
over.
Black.
You got one.
Oh, thank God. If you get 3 for 3, I swear.
I'm gonna go red again.
Nah.
I knew that one.
Yeah.
God, I want to say red.
Nope.
It's black.
Oh.
Red.
You did it. 3 for 3.
I'm the spookiest one here.
You are.
now we know for sure.
I like it. I got that one, but I didn't get one. of
I
yours.
know, right?
Exie, this was fun.
It was
Thank
fun.
you.
We
Aw,
did
thank
cover
you guys.
everything because I know there was a point where you started praying to Mother God, and I wanted to cover that. But I'm going to buy your other book. I might as well own all 3 of them. So that way you can come back and we can talk about your other books, and we haven't covered. I got 3 pages of notes here.
It will be my gift to you for having me on. Thank you very much.
Real
Wow,
quickly,
thank you.
how should our viewers read these in order?
Whatever they want.
Okay, there's no 1, 2, 3.
No,
Okay.
Paranormal Life is the start, and it would explain in the beginning how it
Okay.
starts. But it doesn't really even have to be. I tell people when they're at my table, I don't know which one. Well, use your gut. Tell you.
Okay.
You pick it by whatever you want to pick.
So
it by.
once they read this, pick up either this one or this one. It doesn't matter which order you go in.
No.
Okay.
No, they're like stories, short story format.
Okay.
You know.
That's the show. Brandon, Kim,
Thank
thanks.
you.
Exie,
Thank you.
so much fun.
Thank you,
Peace
guys.
out.
Thank you.
Bye.
The opinions expressed in the preceding program are those of the producer and not necessarily those of WKTV Community Media.